dat is best ja. Het taraweks.
They're vegetarians. Thank you. You safe?
Ja. Jak my tam coś gotowało, my stanęli na jar, więc. Tak odbieram. Sorry.
Rajne, kamu mahama ma banna. Ja, şu atal bizi.
Electric fence.
I'm surprised. Fiction, yeah. It's tied up fish over here. That's what men die, isn't it? Malchinga. And a zoom yeah,
It might have been moved in here from Cub.
Do you feed them fish after?
Oh, they do get fish, but they'll get fish another time.
So today?
I think they normally get it in the morning.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Dave, a ranger here at Highland Wildlife Park. So today we're doing a talk on our bears. We have two bears here. The one on the left is Arctos and the one on the right is Walker. Now the way to tell them apart is Arctos has a longer snout and beard, and Walker has a crushed snout and he's missing a tooth. Now he lost that when he was about 3 years old. So he's, for most of his life he don't have one because Arctos is 18, Walker is 17. Now Walker does look older. He's just like humans. Some of us age well, some of us don't age so well. Walker falls onto the one who doesn't age too well, personally. He's also got a miserable looking face. Now I can't say the actual expression, but he basically has a miserable resting face essentially. Whereas Arctos is more happy-go-lucky. Now on your map you might see we have another bear, that is Brody. Totally ignore that, we don't have him at the moment. He is on an extended holiday to Yorkshire Zoo. So he's down there for about 9 months to a year, and then he'll come back up again. So we're going to be doing some work on the polar bear enclosures, and it makes more, it's easier to move two bears than it is to 3 bears. Now historically here, Walker was the largest bear in Europe, and then it was Hamish who was born here. He is currently the largest bear in Europe. But we think it's going to be Brody. Age for age, he's actually bigger than his brother. So his brother gets about 800 kilograms. We think Brody will get to 900 kilograms. The average bear is about 600 kilograms. So he's going to be about a bear and a half. Now we've had the 3 largest bears consistently in Europe. Now that does sound slightly dodgy. We don't give our bears anything to make them bigger. It's just a big family essentially. Victoria's dad wasn't the biggest bear in the world, but he's very broad, and Arctos is quite a tall bear, so that's where we get that from. Now it might seem odd that we have 2 males here together. Often we hear about polar bears, they're solitary, they're territorial, so how does it work when we have 2 large males? Well, this whole idea that my master used to say, it doesn't really matter what we write in animal books, the animals are never going to read it, they'll do what it takes to survive, even if it goes against what we say they should do. And seeing polar bears working together and hunting together, it's really not unusual to find that in the wild. We call that a pack of bears or a sleuth of bears. Now this whole idea that animals have their territory and they fight anybody who comes inside it is more of a man-made idea. It's not really how it works in the real world. If you have your territory and you're fighting every single animal who comes through it, all you're going to do is tire yourself out, you're going to injure yourself, you're not going to be able to hunt, and then you're going to starve. If someone's just passing through, just let them pass through. You've probably seen brown bears all feeding on the river together, feeding fish. That is one bear's territory, but there's a lot of bears feeding together just because there's so much food. The only time they become really territorial is during the breeding season when they want all the females to themselves, or if there is actually a lack of food and you do need to fight tooth and nail to get everything you need. Now, polar bears had to be well adapted to live in the Arctic. Now, does anyone know if I had one strand of hair, what colour it would be? Black. That's what I'm So the hair would be translucent, it's transparent, you see through it. Now it looks different colours for different factors such as their diet, where they found the planet and the habitat around them. Now if I went and shaped the bears, does anyone know what colour their skin would be?
Black.
Black. Yep, the skin will be black. Now we used to believe that was to absorb as much heat from the sun as possible, but now we believe it's to reflect harmful UV lights back into the sky. And Arctic foxes have the exact same adaptation as well. Now these guys have a fantastic way of getting all their water needs. Most of the liquid water in the Arctic is salt water, so you can't really drink that. They could say drink from a melted puddle, eat some snow, but that's going to lower your body temperature. It's okay to do now and again, but not for a long-term plan. What they do is they actually convert the fat in their body into water, and they get that fat from seals. So they can absorb 97% of seal fat into their own fat. So every time they catch a seal, that's all their food and all their water needs. Now, unfortunately, polar bears are facing a wee bit of a problem at the moment, such as global warming, where they can come down south and find new prey, new habitat, such as reindeer and elk. But now they're come down south because of a changing world. Brown bears are now moving up north because of a changing world. And they're competing with food and for space. Now these guys are larger than brown bears. They're about 600 kilograms, a brown bear's about 450. But polar bears need more calories, and it often makes more sense just to give your food over to a brown bear, go and kill something else. See that instead, you tend to use a lot less energy. I've actually seen a brown bear chase away 3 polar bears from a beached whale. He had his fill, and when he left, the polar bears went back. Just because a brown bear is not going to be able to eat a beached whale all by itself, so just let him get his feed, leave, and then they can get food back. You don't have to fight. There's no point in doing it, even though you don't have to. And they're also breeding with brown bears. So don't everyone's heard of a grizzly bear? That's grizzly with a P. And you say that because everyone thought I was saying grizzly, so grizzly with a P. And their young are fertile. Their young can breed with other polar bears, brown bears, grizzly bears. And the reason for that is the polar bear evolved from the brown bear. The brown bear went up north, stayed there for a bit too long, and then evolved into polar bear. So this is called reverse speciation. So speciation is when one animal evolves into one or more species, reverse speciation when they breed, and then revert back. Now I should say not all species can do this, just the one who kind of blur the line between species and subspecies, such as polar bears. Yeah, just like a dog, they'll do that as well. They like to roll in their thing. If we actually get a lot of snow, they actually take turns sliding down the hill, which is also pretty nice to see. You might also see Arctos walking around with a Christmas tree. He gets a Christmas tree every year, and that's essentially his favourite toy. It's kind of like a doll for him. He'll carry around with him, he'll take it to bed with him, he'll hug it when he sleeps, and normally we find him that pretty much 24/7 essentially. Now when it comes to their senses, does anyone know if we have better or worse eyesight than a polar bear? So it's one of these things that's actually a trick question where you're thinking you are right. During the day our eyesight is better than a polar bear, but at night they have a thing in their eye called a tatum which reflects the light, so they have enhanced night vision compared to us. The sense of hearing is better than ours, but it's not as good as dogs. But they are regarded to have one of the best sense of smell of any animal. They can smell over 20 miles away, and if the wind is in the right direction, they can smell over 40 miles away. So if you're in Abbey Moor having a packet of crisps or a cheeseburger, our bears are easily able to smell you guys. So in summer in Scotland, or potentially it can get to about 20 or 30 degrees. Does anyone think that's too hot for polar bears? Yeah. A lot of the time when you see polar bears, you see them in the ice sheets. But actually, if you put a line in Scotland, if you go around the world, you come to Churchill in Canada where they have polar bears. And their summers are identical to the summers we have here at Abbey Moor. And seeing polar bears in this type of habitat with grass and trees really isn't too unusual. You just generally don't see that on documentaries. Now my background is I'm a wildlife guide, and the joke in my industry is the first 2 days spent with a client is undoing the damage documentaries have done. Now documentaries are a great way of getting information, but they are sometimes bad for showing people what they think is true and not necessarily what's always true. So sometimes just take a pinch of salt, depending on where you see them. So yeah, seeing this bears in this type of habitat, it's not too unusual. Now I did feed them apples and carrots, and that might seem a bit odd to give to a polar bear. Normally think of polar bears, I think they're carnivores, and they are classified as carnivores. But just like all bears, they are omnivores and they would eat vegetation as well. The reason why these guys eat so much meat, they eat about 90 to 98% meat, and there's vegetation. Something like a brown bear might eat about 90% vegetation, only about 10% meat. It's not because that's all they want, it's because they live up in the Arctic. Not much of a choice, to be honest. The ones who live further down south, they'll eat more vegetation. So we normally feed them about 10% vegetation and 90% meat. So give them apples and carrots. Now they like red apples, but they hate green apples. If you do give them green apples, they will give you dagger eyes, and then they'll eat it. And we never order green apples, but sometimes our suppliers make mistakes. They give us the wrong apples, and our bears just have to deal with it for a few days until we get rid of them all, essentially, and get back to the reds again. Right now, they've kind of got a sweet tooth for carrots, so they kind of go between carrots and apples, to be honest. We also give them beef and venison, and that makes the majority of their diet. We give them fish, we give them cod liver oil, and we also give them lard, and they go crazy for lard. That's essentially like, you know, the fat from seals. If you feed them lard and you don't do it fast enough, they'll start banging the ground, roaring at you, telling you to hurry up a little bit faster. They are not the most patient animals in the world, to be honest. Now, I do have some stuff in my bag, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump the fence, and I'll take them out, and I'll talk to you more about them. Yeah, so you may see him rolling down the hill there. Normally does it with more snow, but he seems to quite enjoy just lying down there. Now we can also train our polar bears to give us blood samples. So in the past, you want to take a blood sample from an animal, you'd have to sedate them. And any animal's healthy, sedation has risks. So what we asked them to do is we asked them to put their paw in a wee mailbox. We'll shave it, take a blood sample, and now we can do that with a health check with our polar bears and our tigers at the back of their tail. And we're also teaching our wolverine to wave at us, which sounds like a stupid little trick. But that's the first step in taking a blood sample. So we can tell him where to put his paw, we can then put his paw in a sleeve, and then we can take a blood sample from a wolverine when they're still awake. Now, I say for a general health check, which is true, except for Walker there, is to find out what he's allergic to. He's allergic to tomatoes, so you can't bet him. He's allergic to cod, so now we give him salmon. And he's also allergic to grain, which doesn't sound too bad, but unfortunately, pheasants eat all the grain. They fly in here, and then he eats pheasants. Now, I don't know if anyone is from a rural location, but pheasants are the dumbest creatures on the planet. They have no survival instincts whatsoever, and they will jump out your car. We had one who walked in here, walked up to Walker. Walker crushed and netted it. Another pheasant saw that, so he ran up to Walker to be crushed and eaten. And that's the level of intelligence we're dealing with. So if you do ever come here and Walker's face is exploded, he's eating something he shouldn't have been eating. So, yeah. Yeah, big guy.
Dog. It looks like a hello. Imagine saying hello. You're stepping